But what's going to happen now is that now that President Duterte has made his exit, now all eyes really are on Bongbong Marcos, who is, as of 10:50 this morning, 10:48 this morning, still President-elect. But in an hour and 12 minutes, he will become President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. President Duterte and his convoy pulling out of Malacanang for the last time. What you just witnessed were departure honors and that visit, courtesy call, if you will, from the President-elect. And now we're expecting President-elect Marcos to leave Malacanang as well. Well-wishers just outside Malacanang's gates to say goodbye to President Duterte as he exits Malacanang for the last time as the incumbent president. President-elect Marcos is going to be making his own exit from Malacanang. It's about a 5 to 10 minute ride from there, from Malacanang Palace to here at the National Museum. It is 10 minutes before the hour of 11 in the morning, 1 hour and 10 minutes before Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos becomes the 17th President of the Philippines. His constitutional title, I just said it, President of the Philippines. It is incorrect to refer to him or her as President of the Republic of the Philippines. As it was used, that term was used only in the 1943 and 1973 Constitution. BBM or Bongbong Marcos will be, as we know, the 17th president. He will be the first elected president who is a junior. He is the third child of a former president to become president in his own right. The first, Gloria Arroyo. The second was Let's turn it over back first.
Pia, thank you so much for that update and for annotating the departure of the incoming President Bongbong Marcos from the Presidential Palace. He is currently on his way to the National Museum for his oath-taking ceremony. Let's bring in now our guest once again, DLSU history professor Jose Victor Torres, and of course, our guest in the studio, political scientist Richard Heydarian. Let me ask you, Professor Torres, how different will this inaugural be of the incoming president compared to the other inauguration ceremonies?
Well, the biggest difference is the place, because it used to be done at the grandstand. No, just to put a bit of note of correction here. No, when Rojas took his oath of office in front of the legislative building, no, in 1946, he took his oath of office as president of the Commonwealth, the third president of the Commonwealth, so because we weren't independent yet, no, and he eventually took his oath of office, second oath of office, as president of the Republic in what is now the area in front of the Rizal Monument. It's a blank area that used to be the area of the Independence Grandstand. No, but unfortunately, that grandstand was destroyed in the early 1950s, and eventually the Quirino administration put up now what is known as the Quirino Grandstand, where it now became the venue for most of the the presidential inauguration. No? And so the big difference probably is one, the change of venue. Another big difference, of course, is the reverse. So the following now of existing traditions of the that happens during the presidential inauguration. No? Actually, to be frank about it, it's the first time that I saw it actually happened in Malacanang. No? The changing of the greeting of the old president with the new president, and I think they are all aware of the historic significance of that because the ascendance of the president of the Philippines, no, on that historic step was had a very important historical significance. So by tradition, that's the exact step
Yes.
that Teodora Alonso, the mother of Jose Rizal, no, climbed on her knees before the Governor General of the Philippines, no, in order to petition the Governor General to spare her son from execution.
Correct.
So then eventually, when Quezon became president of the Philippines, so when he ascended that step, he according to the historical the story was that he said that no one will ever ascend these steps again, no, in order to plead for someone's life.
Yeah.
No, every Filipino now will enter Malacanang, no, will rightly enter Malacanang because this is the home of the
Professor?
Filipino.
Professor, thank you so much for the historical background, no, and what this means for our kababayans today and going forward. And of course, I would like to ask both professors who are with us right now, of course, the history of first ladies. Let's get over to you first, Professor Torres. No, what kind of role did the first ladies, and maybe there was one first gentleman, play a major role in the presidencies of previous presidents?
I always view this the first ladies sometimes as quote unquote decorative, no? Because as a first lady, they are of course first and foremost the wife of the president of the Philippines, no? And she is given specific duties, but not specific duties totally related to the political aspect of governance. She's usually bound with the social welfare, cultural aspect,
yeah.
no? And of course it depends of course on what's given by the president of the Philippines. So
Professor?
she's usually also the host, no? Pag nagkaroon ng
Professor?
konting affairs dito sa palace,
Professor?
especially with foreign
I'm
guests.
sorry
no?
to jump in. Professor, sorry to jump in, but because our other guest here in the studio has to leave in a moment. So I would like to ask you, because we were talking about first ladies, no? The history of first ladies, you were saying they're ceremonial, they're basically, they host a lot of parties for the incumbent. What do you think will be the role of the incoming First Lady, Liza Araneta Marcos? Will she be proactive?
Right. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I think she's going to be the first lawyer, first lady. I mean, so, you know, no offense to other first ladies, but Liza Araneta brings a certain kind of gravitas, not to mention legal expertise, political expertise. We saw she played a very proactive role when Ferdinand Marcos Jr. was the governor in Ilocos Norte. So she was not just another spouse. Or I don't think she's just going to be a kind of a passive kind of first lady. I think she's going to be very proactive. But remember, the Marcoses, we have many strong women there. There's Amy Marcos, who's the de facto spokesman of the family. I think a lot of interesting statements we hear about what her brother is going to do, what the Marcoses want to do with their second chance. We hear it from Amy Marcos, who, by the way, is also the Senator of the Republic, a head of the Foreign Affairs Committee. Then, of course, is the ultimate matriarch of the family, Imelda Marcos. She's going to be there, I think.
What kind of role do you think will she be playing
Well, more,
in
I
this
think,
administration
symbolically.
over the next 6 years?
I think symbolically she'll be very, very important. I think just seeing her back on the veranda in the Malacanang after everything, she's going to be the ultimate representation of the vindication and the rehabilitation, the full rehabilitation of the Marcoses. So I think that's going to be the role that she's going to play primarily. But remember, there are people like Enrile who are going to be in the cabinet.
98-year-old.
Yes, so, I mean, if
He will be the
Enrile is
oldest
going to play
cabinet
that role,
secretary.
then maybe Imelda will be much more active than just symbolic. So there we have many strong women characters there, right? So That's something that everyone keeps in mind. But so far, we have seen that Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has shown he's the boss in a sense that early in office, he made the decision on who's going to get the Department of National Defense. Everyone thought that's going to go to Sara Duterte. Speaker of the House, everyone thought that's going to go to former President Arroy. It went to Martin Romualdez. So I think Marcos is also showing that he's going to be his own man. He's going to make his decision as much as he's going to be surrounded by powerful women with also strong views of themselves on politics and the country.
He's a man who will take charge and create his own history over the next 6 years. An own legacy. Thank you so much, political scientist and analyst Richard Haydarian, for your insights for this CNN Philippines special presentation. And of course, we would also like to thank our DLSU history professor, Jose Victor Torres. We'll be right back. You're watching a CNN Philippines special presentation, The Oath, the Presidential Inauguration. I'm Rico Hizon. Stay with us.
So many questions about what is the federal government doing. Do you get the anger that is out here?
How concerned are you about the front line?
You don't believe that there's a racial divide here?
Looking back, as president, did you tell the story of race in America enough, do you think?
All the places I've been and all the things I've seen, all the people I've talked to, I carry with me. They're a part of what I do right here, holding the powerful accountable, keeping them honest.
AC 360, Tuesday through Saturday only on CNN.
After an intense election campaign, Filipinos voting for a leader in the next 6 years.
On the part of the Senate, I proclaim Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr. as the duly elected President of the Republic of the Philippines.
It's a complete turnaround, 36 years after a popular uprising toppled his father and namesake, the late dictator Ferdinand Marcos Sr. The first majority president in the post-EDSA era, gaining the favor of 31 million Filipinos with his message of unity. Today, he takes his oath as the 17th president of the Philippines.
I promise you that we may not be perfect, but we will always strive to perfection.
Taking on the enormous responsibility of addressing urgent economic challenges amid a global pandemic.
I ask you all, pray for me, wish me well. I want to do well, because when a president does well, the country does well. And I want to do well for this country.
This is a CNN Philippines special coverage. The Oath, the Presidential Inauguration. Hello everyone, good morning. It is 11 a.m. and you're watching a CNN Philippines special coverage of The Oath, the Presidential Inauguration. I'm Rico Hizon. History is unfolding today as Ferdinand Marcos Jr. takes his oath as the 17th President of the Republic. CNN Philippines is closely monitoring the inauguration of the country's 17th President. Our correspondents are in strategic locations to give us the latest in the run-up to this inauguration of Marcos Jr. Rex Remitio, David Santos, George Cahiles, and Chrissy de Matulac are all at the National Museum. Again, that is the venue of the inauguration. Melissa Lopez is at the PICC in Pasay, which is a holding area for guests and VIPs of the ceremony. AC Nichols is in Malacanang, Lois Calderon is in Ilocos Norte, the home province of the Marcoses, while Tristan Dodalo is in Davao City, the home of outgoing President Rodrigo Duterte. Carly Bonquin is at the Liwasam Bonifacio, Anjali Mario is at the Bantayog ng mga Bayani, and Paige Javier is at Plaza Miranda. Supporters of the Marcos Duterte tandem in Davao City and the Bangsamoro region are hopeful that the new administration will continue the programs that will spur development in the region. Well, they also look forward to the retirement of President Duterte, the first Mindanaoan president. Our Tristan Nodalo is joining us live now from Davao City. Tristan, when can we expect the outgoing president to be back in Davao City?
Rico, spending time with this family will be President Rodrigo Duterte's priority, according to his longtime ally and Senator Bongo. No clear plans yet on whether the president will be attending some of the homecoming events organized by his supporters in the city. But before that, let's take a look back at some of his very recent activities before he stepped down from office. He recently attended the PDP Laban Thanksgiving party in Makati City on Wednesday. He also met with foreign officials, including Chinese Vice President Wang Qishan and Japanese Foreign Minister Yoshimasa Hayashi. We spoke to some Davao residents, including some of his neighbors. They say that while Duterte's presidency was not perfect, his programs benefit not only Davaoenos but the entire country in the long run.
Namimiss namin noon, nung hindi pa siya presidente, kasabay namin siya pag New Year, may Christmas, doon sa subdivision. Nung naging presidente siya, medyo na-hectic na yung schedule niya. So sana ngayon, makaspend siya ng more time sa kanyang mga apo, no, sa family niya.
No big event so far on the inauguration of President-elect Bongbong Marcos here in Davao, but one of the largest volunteer groups supporting the Marcos-Duterte tandem in the May 9 post expect continuity of, quote, Duterte's legacy under the new administration.
Of the Duterte administration, having Inday Sara as the vice president, no, in the macro level, in the whole country, yung war on drugs, kailangan ipagpatuloy niya. Pangalawa, yung build programs and yung mga malasakit centers. The president, no, si President Bongbong Marcos Jr., ma-end niya yung Bangsamoro Peace Process. Kasi yung Bangsamoro Peace Process, time-bounded siya.
Tanggapin natin na may problema talaga sa education ba na nangyari sa COVID. So parang medyo nakakagulo yung sa face-to-face. Actually, maraming mga kabataan na hindi talaga nakapag-aral o nakastop. We expect na mas matutukan aspetong edukasyon, employment, tsaka the same time yung war on drugs talaga na tinutukan yun in fact ni PRRD. So sana mapapatuloy ni PBBM ang programang yun.
Amid controversies and challenges, outgoing President Duterte has maintained high approval ratings from the public. His latest was at 73% according to Pulse Asia, and sources tell us that the president will be returning to Davao this afternoon. Back to you, Rico.
Tristan, any hints from the outgoing president or his allies on what he will be doing next?
Well, there are varying statements coming from his allies and even from President Duterte. Some say that he is considering teaching, while President Duterte initially said that he wants to pursue his advocacies like fighting illegal drugs and criminality. And even though President Duterte already stepped down from the presidency, the Duterte family is still in the political limelight. You have Vice President Sara Duterte, Congressman Paulo Duterte, and his son, the new mayor of Davao City, Sebastian Duterte. Back to you, Rico.
Joining us outside Davao City Hall. Thank you so much for that update on the outgoing President, Rodrigo Duterte.
11:07 in the morning. More roads in Manila will be closed today for President-elect Bongbong Marcos's inauguration. Ayala Boulevard and Victoria Street from Taft Avenue, as you can see on your screens right now, to Moralia Street are off limits to vehicles. That was since 4 a.m. It will remain closed until 11 p.m. Halandoni Street along PICC in Pasay City, meanwhile, and Legarda Street in Manila from San Rafael to Figueras Street will be closed. That's starting at 1 p.m. So just 2 hours. Mendiola likewise remains closed to the public until later tonight at 11. Padre Burgos Avenue, Finance Road, Maria Orosa Street from TM Calao to P. Burgos, as well as General Luna Street have all been closed to the public since Sunday. It will remain off limits to motorists until 11 p.m. And that's that update on the roads. Rico?
Well, thank you so much, Andre. A lot of streets are still closed, no?
That's right.
most probably people should just be staying home if they're around the Manila area.
You're right. But we'll get back to you later on some responses, because what's trending online using hashtags, we see PBBM also trending on online with netizens.
And earlier we were speaking with Professor Richard Haydare, and he said he's also looking forward to the memes and the comments of what people will say on social media regarding this inauguration.
Thank you, Rico.
All right, we're awaiting the oath-taking ceremony and the inauguration of our 17th President of the Republic, Bongbong Marcos, who had the largest lead over his closest rival among all presidential election winners since the 1986 People Power Revolution. Rex Remigio tells us the keys to Marcos's historic victory.
I am today announcing my intention to run for the presidency of the Philippines in the upcoming May 2022 elections.
Mananalo talaga tayo basta't walang tulugan sa Lunes.
It was touch and go for Bongbong Marcos with only a month before the filing of certificate of candidacy for the 2022 elections. This could have been an offshoot of his second or third rankings in pre-election surveys for president. But months later, Filipinos gave Marcos a historic victory, the highest number of votes for a presidential candidate. What could be the factors behind this unprecedented election result? Political science professor Froilan Calilong says the Bongbong Marcos-Sara Duterte alliance was a powerful ticket. Except for two provinces, Marcos won in all provinces in Mindanao thanks to the solid mass support for the Dutertes. Calilong also points out the tandem's central and simple message that resonated to voters: unity. Marcos was consistent on this messaging in his campaign.
There were very, very few mention of the exact agenda or the exact platforms that he intends to do. So again, we go back to the idea of unity, unity, and unity.
Calilong also credits the resurfacing of some Marcos loyalists and the extensive use of social media, a platform that was effective for Marcos to regain ground after he lost the vice presidency in 2016. But Marcos has repeatedly denied using troll armies for his advantage and to attack critics. Tapping the power of social media, Marcos has so far uploaded over 200 vlogs on Facebook about his political and personal life.
Hip-hop or rock?
House.
No, that's not here. You have to choose hip-hop or rock?
House.
Tigas ng ulo nitong batang ito.
Calilong explains these vlogs have given Marcos an edge on positive public perception. It's an effective strategy to counter criticisms from rivals and different groups against the Marcos family and the deposed regime of the late Ferdinand Marcos. Calilong says supporters of other candidates did not appreciate the role of social media in the campaign.
Because if it actually was effective, then it could have translated into an upswing in the numbers of VP Robredo.
Calilong says the calculated response of Marcos to controversies during the campaign period also helped his candidacy. And as it turned out, his absence in most presidential debates did not impact his bid to become the 17th President of the Philippines. Rex Remigio, CNN Philippines.
Let's check the situation right now in Ilocos Norte, the home turf of the Marcoses. Our senior correspondent, Lois Calderon, joins us now live from Batak. Thank you so much for joining us, Lois. What can you tell us about the reactions of Ilocanos there now that they will have the 17th president of the country?
Rico, Ilocos has been known as Marcos country for half a century now. The Marcoses ruled the region from governor to congressman to mayor, etc. And now as the highest leader of the land. But on this historic day, Batak, the hometown of the Marcoses, is quiet. True to form, Ilocos chose to celebrate this simply, to make the celebration simply. In the background, you'll see the Imelda Cultural Center, one of the landmarks of the town center, where the City Hall staff set up 2 huge LED screens so that together barangay officials, City Hall employees and passers-by could watch the inauguration ceremony that's unfolding in Manila. We talked to one of the organizers here.
Ito po ma'am, may LED wall po tayo sa loob at sa labas po, dalawa po.
Nag-echo. We also visited the provincial capital in Laoag City, where tarps with the face of President-elect Bongbong Marcos and congratulatory messages are hanging prominently on the Capitol building and other government offices. The staff in Laoag provincial capital confirmed that top officials from governor to mayor will be at the National Museum and later at the Malacanang Palace to take part in this historic event. Meanwhile, the program sent to journalists yesterday said Ilocos congressman and first son Ferdinand Alexander Marcos, better known as Sandro, will have his oath taking at 4:05 p.m. at the reception hall of Malacanang. It will be followed by a mass oath-taking ceremony of local government officials of Ilocos Norte and Ilocos Sur. Rico?
So, Lois, there will also be a public viewing at the Batak Town Center. What did supporters say, and do we expect any protest rallies there?
Marcos' landslide victory has been inspiring people or supporters to come and visit Ilocandia. Yesterday in Vigan, we met this family who traveled all the way from Davao to visit Ilocos in time for the inauguration. She's a political science graduate and a supporter of the BBM Sara Duterte tandem. In Vigan, business is brisk, with one popular restaurant owned by the political family of Singson also preparing to host VIPs today. The restaurant manager has been working there for 2 decades and has met the Marcos family several times. We asked her what food BBM often orders. Let's listen in.
Pabigan longganisa po natin.
Rico, the police say that 50 personnel have been deployed to secure Batak, the landmarks here, especially Marcos Museum, following reports that there might be vandals creating some noise in protest of Marcos' victory. Both the police from Laoag and Batak say there had been no applications for permits to hold protest rallies. Rico, back to you.
Lois, I'm also very curious. No, I mean, of course, Ilocos Norte is a Marcos country, and of course, they had a sweeping victory during the May 9th elections. When do they expect their presidential son to return to Batak and celebrate with all Ilocanos?
Okay, that's also the same question. When we talk to Congressman Sandro Marcos or Ferdinand Alexander Marcos following his proclamation shortly after the May 9th victory, we asked him, where do you plan to stay? As a first son in Malacanang, or as congressman, you'll stay here in Laoag as, to see what's happening on the ground. And back then, Sandro said that he will have to discuss that, but definitely his primary mandate will be to be in Congress to prioritize bills, because he has bills prepared, especially for Ilocos, and he said that he wanted to focus on infrastructure and agriculture. Rico?
Senior correspondent Lois Calderon joining us from Batak in Ilocos Norte. Thank you so much for that update. You're watching a CNN Philippines special coverage, The Oath, the Presidential Inauguration. We'll be right back for more. Stay with us.
Marcos Jr. As you can see right behind me, his supporters, the VIPs and guests are really waiting for the arrival of Marcos. He just came from Malacanang, where he and outgoing President Rodrigo Duterte did their final honors. And so what we're expecting here at the National Museum, as soon as he arrives, actress Tony Gonzaga will sing the Philippine national anthem. This will be followed by an ecumenical prayer and a 30-minute military civic parade. Although it's already, it's almost 11:30, so we have yet to see if they're still going to hold the military civic parade. And then Senate President Tito Soto will read the joint resolution from both houses of Congress proclaiming Marcos as a president. Chief Justice Alexander Hesmundo will then administer the oath of Marcos at exactly 12 noon, after which he will deliver his inaugural address. The country is awaiting for the pronouncement of Marcos on what will be his vision and plans for the country in the next 6 years. His camp says that he will use a teleprompter to make sure that his speech will be in sequence and coherent. Now, for the inaugural song, Chris Villonco and the young voices of the Philippines Choir will sing Filipinas Kong Mahal. After he delivered his inaugural address, Marcos and his guests and members of the diplomatic community will then proceed inside for their Von d'honneur with the members of the diplomatic community and other VIPs. And this is expected to last for an hour. After that, they will go to the Malacanang Palace for the formal welcome ceremonies as well as the oath-taking of his cabinet members. So we're still here at the National Museum. Everyone is waiting for the arrival of Marcos, even his supporters. Most of them are wearing red, and some of them are have their shirts inscribed with 31M. They're saying that they voted for BBM and that the 31 million votes that Marcos got is real and not manufactured. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Rex Remitio, for that update from the National Museum of Arts in Manila. Well, aside from President-elect Bongbong Marcos, Vice President-elect Sara Duterte will also be assuming office at 12 noon today. Yesterday, her predecessor, Vice President Leni Robredo, bid farewell to her second home in the past 6 years. Our senior correspondent, Anjali Mario, tells us Robredo is ending her term in high spirits.
If I have to do it all over again, knowing what the results will be, I will still do it.
Maria Leonora Leni Robredo looks back on her 6-year journey as the country's vice president. She failed in her bid for the presidency, but Robredo says she has no regrets. Largely sidelined by the administration, and with all the attacks, disinformation, and lies thrown their way, Robredo says she's proud that she converted her office from ceremonial into advocacy-driven.
Looking back, iniisip namin ng mga staff na siguro kung sobrang dali lang sa atin mag-request ng pera, hindi siguro tayo naging ganito ka-creative.
For the 4th straight year, her office got an unqualified opinion from the Commission on Audit. She says she's both excited and sad leaving her office.
After tomorrow, makakapanood na ulit ako ng mga K-drama. After tomorrow, mababasa ko na yung lahat na librong naghihintay basahin. Pero yung malungkot for me, yung mga taong iiwan.
If there's one crucial decision that she won't forget, was the day she accepted President Duterte's challenge to lead the anti-drug war through the Interagency Committee on Anti-Illegal Drugs.
Kahit 18 days lang yung binigay sa amin, those were the parang best 18 days of our OVP life. Kasi talagang we worked the hardest during those 18 days. Kasi alam namin na tatanggalin ako at any time.
Robredo vows to fight the machinery of disinformation.
Kailangan magkaisa na yung taong bayan para para salbahin yung ating demokrasya. Kasi kung wala tayong gagawin, gigising tayo na isang umaga na marirealize natin na wala na. Wala na yung mga freedoms na pinaglaban natin for a very long time.
Robredo is leaving the political limelight but she'll remain busy setting up Angat Buhay NGO for her dream of making it the widest voluntary network in the country a reality.
Okay, come on!
Anjali Marios, CNN Philippines.
And we're seeing right now live pictures from the National Museum and the incoming President, Bongbong Marcos, together with the incoming First Lady, Liza Araneta Marcos, has arrived at the National Museum grounds. Let's listen in now to Pio Hontiveros.
By a joint session of Congress sitting as the National Board of Canvassers on the evening of May 25, just 28 hours after the canvassing began, with a third highest political mandate, 31 million votes. Now, this moment, a pendulum swing from 36 years ago when his father, who shuttered this very same building in 1972, which then housed the bicameral legislature, throwing many of its members in jail and declaring martial law, was deposed and flown into exile. At this moment, like we say now, June 30th, entrance of colors first here at the National Museum.
Let us all rise for the Philippine National Anthem.
Sa dibdib mo'y buhay, lupang hinirang, duyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupig, di ka pasisiil, sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong bughaw, may dilag ang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal, ang kislap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagdiniging, ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may di magdidilim, lupa ng araw ng luwalhating pagsinta, buhay ay langit sa piling mo, aming ligaya na pag may mga api, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo. Dahil sa'yo.
Please remain standing for the ecumenical prayer.
Kindly bow your heads in prayer. Sa ngalan ng Ama at ng Anak at ng Espiritu Santo. Amen. O Diyos naming maawain at mapagmahal, kami ay nagpapasalamat sa araw na ito na inyong nilikha, puspos ng biyaya para sa mundo at mga Pilipino, kung saan aming tinatanggap ang aming bagong Pangulo. Nawa ang araw na ito ay maghatid ng pagkakataon upang maging ganap ang aming hinahangad na pagkakaisa, kaunlaran at kapayapaan. Maging hudyat nawa ito ng tunay na pagbabago, paglilingkod at pag-asa. Sa ngalan ni Kristo na aming Panginoon, kasama ng Espiritu Santo. Amen.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Qala rabbukum ادعوني أستجب لكم. Ya Allah, the most gracious and the most merciful, please fill our mind and soul with good health and wellness forever. Bless us and our future leader, Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr., a good health and spirit of wisdom so that he may serve his countrymen. We pray that our nation be crowned with compassion and nurtured by your love. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وادخلنا في جنة مع الأبرار يا عزيز يا غفار يا رب العالمين.
Panginoon po naming Diyos, banal ka po at makapangyarihan sa lahat. Pakitanggap po ang aming taos sa pusong pasasalamat sapagkat taglay pa naming lahat ngayon ang aming buhay at ang aming lakas. Sasaksihan po namin ang panunumpa ng bagong Pangulo ng aming Republika. Nagmamakaawa kaming lahat na tulungan mo po ang aming Pangulo, maging lahat ng mga nangunguna sa aming pamahalaan, maipatupad ng pantay-pantay lahat ng mga batas, tungo po sa pag-unlad ng aming lipunan. Hinihiling po namin maghari sa amin ang iyong katwiran. Sa ngalan po, Ama, ng aming Panginoong Hesukristo. Amen.
Mapagpala po naming Diyos, binabalik po namin ang papuri at pasalamat sa inyong saganang biyaya na sa kabila ng mga krisis, pandemya, kami po ay patuloy na tumitingin na kami po ay merong bagong lipunan na kung saan ang bawat isa sa amin ay magkakaisa upang kami po ay umunlad. Panginoon, inyo pong puspusin ng biyaya ang aming bagong Pangulo. 10 po ng kanyang buong sambahayan at pamilya. Gayon din po ang lahat ng mga gabinete, ang kanyang administrasyon. At salamat po na kami ay walang dapat ipangamba sapagkat kayo po'y nangako na kayo po ang sa amin. Ito po ang aming pakiusap sa pangalan po ng aming Panginoong Hesus. Amen.
Salamat po, Ama, sa pag-ibig na pinupuno niyo sa puso ng bawat Pilipino. Pag-ibig na maaaring sandalan, gawing pundasyon at balangkas ng aming pagkakaisa. Patuloy niyo po kaming pag-umapawi ng pag-ibig sa bayan, sa inyo at sa aming kapwa. Sa pangalan ng Panginoong Hesus. Aming Amang manlilikha at tagapagpaguyod,
nagkakaisa po kami ngayon na nagtatalaga sa inyong hinihirang na maging Pangulo at lingkod ng bayan, si Ginoong Ferdinand Bongbong Romualdez Marcos Jr. Sa kanyang pamumuno at pamamahala, liwanagan niyo po siya ng inyong maningning na ilaw, kasihan at puspusin ng inyong banal na diwa, lapatan ng inyong mapagpalang kamay, pangunahan at akayin ng inyong makatwirang tinig, at patuloy na pagkalooban ng nag-uumapaw na pag-ibig at pagmamalasakit sa sambayanang Pilipinas. Bigyan niyo po siya ng mga makakatuwang sa pamamahala na may busilak na kalooban, mga manunungkulang maalam, mabunga at marubdob ang pagmamahal sa bayan. Kami pong lahat na mamamayan ay patuloy ninyong gabayan na maging matapat sa aming mga tungkulin sa bayan para sa isang maunlad at nagkakaisang Pilipinas.
Sa maiksing sandali po ng tahimik na pakikipagniig sa ating Ama sa Langit, ipabatid natin ang ating mga niloloob at pasalamat.
Please be seated. Welcome to the inaugural ceremony of President-elect Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr. To begin, let us now witness and give a big round of applause to the military and civic parade.
Sa makasaysayang araw na ito, ating binibigyang pugay ang bagong Pangulo ng Republika ng Pilipinas, Pangulong Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr. Kung kaya't narito po ang isang parada bilang pagpaparangal. Atin na pong tunghayan ng mga tagapangalaga ng bansa, naglilingkod sa iba't ibang larangan, isinasanggalang ang bansa sa anumang pagbabanta. Sila na nagtataglay ng katapangan at kagitingan, patuloy na nakikipaglaban para sa kapayapaan at kalayaan na ating tinatamasa. Bumubungad po ang parada na kinabibilangan ng ating Corps ng mga kadete ng Sandatahang Lakas at Pambansang Pulisya ng Pilipinas, gayon din po ang Tanod Baybayin. Inyo pong nasaksihan ang high-speed opener pass o ang mabilisang paglipad ng FA-50PH o ang tinaguriang Fighting Eagle. Ito ang pangunahing air asset na ginamit sa pagsasagawa ng combat air operation sa Marawi City laban sa ISIS-inspired terrorists. Naipamalas na ng FA-50PH, Agila ng Pilipinas, ang pagiging most lethal weapon system dahil sa iba't ibang katangian nito na ginagampanan sa pagdepensa at pag-atake sa impapawid ng Philippine Air Force. Ang FA-50PH bilang air asset ay pinangangasiwaan ng ating 5th Fighter Wing, the home of the country's frontline fighters and jet trainers. Nangunguna po sa ating parada ang pinagsamang banda ng Sandatahang Lakas ng Pilipinas. Dumaraan po sa hating harapan ang commander ng tropa, Major General Jonas R. Lumawag, Philippine Navy Marines. Ang unang brigada sa kasuotang gala ay nasa pamumuno ni Brigadier General Alvin P. Flores, Army. Ang unang batalyon ay binubuo ng Corps ng mga kadete ng Sandatahang Lakas ng Pilipinas na pinangungunahan ni Cadet First Class Edmond D. Logroño. Mula sa prestiyosong Philippine Military Academy, ang mga ginoo at binibining ito ang mamamahala sa iba't ibang sangay ng Sandatahang Lakas. Ikinikintal sa kanilang puso't isipan ng kagitingan, integridad at katapatan. Sila na sa hinaharap ay magiging kaagapay sa pagsusulong ng kapayapaan at kaunlaran ng bansa. Sumusunod ang batalyon ng mga kadete mula sa kilalang Philippine National Police Academy sa pangunguna ni Cadet Second Class Joshua R. Pulido. Hinuhubog ang karakter ng mga kadeteng ito upang mamuno sa hinarap ng nananaig ang paglilingkod, karangalan at hustisya, gayon din bilang makadiyos, responsable at respetadong mga public safety officers. Mangyaring tumayo po ang lahat para sa pagdating ng watawat ng Pilipinas. Magsiupo na ang lahat. Ating natutunghayan ang mga sagisag mula sa Sandatahang Lakas, Pambansang Pulisya at sa Tanod Baybayin ng Pilipinas. Ang pangalawang brigada sa kanilang kasuotang battle dress attire ay pinamumunuan ni Brigadier General Joanis Leonardi B. Dimaano ng Air Force. Sumusunod ang batalyon ng Special Operations Forces ng Sandatahang Lakas sa pangunguna ni Commander Ray R.G. Habonete ng Navy. Binubuo ang batalyon ng Scout Ranger at Special Forces ng Philippine Army, Naval and Special Operations Group ng Philippine Navy at 7th Special Operations Wing ng Philippine Air Force. Sila mga piling individual na ang kasanayan ay sa iba't ibang larangan at nakakaangat lalo na sa mga espesyal na operasyon. Narito naman ang batalyon na binubuo ng kapulisan at tanod baybayin na pinamumunuan ni Police Lieutenant Colonel Joseph C. Bayan. Ang ating kapulisan na tagapagpatupad ng batas sa papanatili ng kapayapaan at kaayusan at nagsisiguro sa kaligtasan ng ating mamamayan. Ang tanod baybayin ay nakatuon sa Maritime Search and Rescue, Maritime Law Enforcement, Maritime Safety, Marine Environmental Protection at Maritime Security. Tunghayan natin ang mga sasakyan at gamit pandigma ng Sandatahang Lakas ng Pilipinas, Pambansang Pulisya ng Pilipinas at Tanod Baybayin ng Pilipinas, gayon din ang mga tauhang kabilang sa mga espesyal na unit, kasama na rin po ang pansuportang unit. Nangunguna ang mga espesyal na unit ng Sandatahang Lakas ng Pilipinas. Nariyan po ang Explosive Ordnance and Disposal Units, kabilang na rin po ang Chemical, Biological and Radiological Nuclear Teams. Sumusunod naman po ang Kia Light Tactical Vehicle at Troop Carrying Vehicle. Narito rin po ang 11 metrong rigid hull inflatable boat ng Naval Special Operations Group ng Philippine Navy. Ginagamit ito sa mga espesyal na operasyon bilang suporta sa maliitang SEAL operation. Ang tinaguriang combat arm of decision ng Armor Assets. Nangunguna ang Commando V-150 na pangunahing nakadisenyo para sa panloob na operasyong pansiguridad ng bansa. Kasabay ang Simba Armored Fighting Vehicle ng Philippine Army na gumaganap para sa panloob na seguridad. Nariyan din po ang V-300 Armored Personnel Carrier ng Philippine Marine Corps. Isang uri ng sasakyan na magagamit sa lupa o tubig man. Natutunghayan naman po natin ang artillery assets na binubuo ng mga kanyon ng Sandatahang Lakas ng Pilipinas. Nangunguna ang 20mm M39 anti-aircraft cannons at iniakma ito bilang ground-based weapons mula sa dating F-5 Freedom Fighters aircraft. Sumusunod ang Atmos 155mm howitzer system na binuo bilang shoot-and-scoot weapon na agarang magre-responde sa mahirap na kalupaan at kritikal na lugar. Kontrolado ito ng electronic suit na may inertial navigation system-based gun, laying method at automatic loader. Nasa ating harapan ang 105mm howitzers. Sumusuporta ang mga ito sa mga puwersang nasa gitna ng operasyong militar. Ang gamit pandigmang ito ay nagbibigay ng close fire support. Nakikita ang 8-ton Ural trucks at 1 1/4-ton Sadco. Ang mga sasakyang ito ay ginagamit bilang bahagi ng combat support units. Gayon din sa panahon ng kagipitan, partikular sa humanitarian assistance and disaster response. Mga espesyal na sasakyang naglalaman naman ng mga gamit pang komunikasyon at sistemang pang-impormasyon na may kakayahan upang maisakatuparan ang ugnayan sa pamamagitan ng radio communication sa iba't ibang frequency bands. Ang mga sasakyan naman po at kagamitan ng ating pambansang pulisya ng Pilipinas at tanod baybayin ng Pilipinas na pawang ginagamit sa iba't ibang larangan, seguridad at maging sa kampanya laban sa terorismo at humanitarian assistance and disaster response. Pinangungunahan ito ng PNP Highway Patrol na tinaguriang Guardian of the Highways na nakatuon sa operasyon sa lansangan para sa traffic safety at maging sa paglaban sa krimen. Nariyan po ang mga sasakyan ng NCRPO, ang forensic group scene of the crime operatives, ang chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear, and explosives, at ang pinagsanib na explosive ordnance at K9 mobile vehicle van. Natutunghayan natin ang SWAT van, ang Special Action Force, nalula ng Multipurpose Armored Vehicle Personnel Carrier at MG Rubber Boat. Mula naman sa Tanod Baybayin, nariyan ang bomb squad, ambulance at mga patrol cars. Nariyan po ang kanilang jet ski para naman sa agarang makatugon sa seguridad at search and rescue operations. Ang aluminum search and rescue boats na nakadisenyo upang mabilisang makaresponde ang rescue team sa mga nalunod o biktima ng sakuna sa karagatan. Samantalang ang Regional Hull Boat ay ginagamit sa iba't ibang misyong isinasagawa ng Coast Guard Anti-Terrorist Unit. Ngayon po, ibalik ang inyong atensyon sa kalangitan at natutunghayan ang pagdaan ng mga sasakyang panghimpapawid ng santahang lakas ng Pilipinas. Inyo pong nakikita ang 4 na 829 Super Tucano. Sumusunod ang 10 SF-260 Marchetti, nakadisenyo para sa basic at intermediate training at nagsisilbing dependable attack aircraft para sa close air support. Nariyan din ang 4 na Cessna aircraft at ang panghuli sa hanay ng mga sasakyang panghimpapawid, ang 9 na T-41 trainer aircraft. Ang tinatawag na trainer aircraft ay ginagamit sa basic pilot training ng Air and Education Command ng Philippine Air Force. Mga kababayan, atin pong natunghayan ang ating sandatahang lakas, ang pambansang pulisya at ang tanod baybayin ng Pilipinas na maaasahan mapaanumang larangan saan man at kailanman. Sila ang ating mga kaagapay upang mapanatili ang kaayusan, katiwasayan at kapayapaan sa buong kapuluan para sa masaganang kinabukasan ng ating bayang Pilipinas.
Mula naman sa iba't ibang sektor ng ating lipunan. Ang ating mga bayaning katuwang sa lalong pagpapaganda at pagpapaunlad ng ating bansa. Ang ating mga medical frontliners. Sa panahong singdilim ng pandemya, ang mga bayaning nagniningning ng pinakamaliwanag. Sila ang ating mga medical at healthcare frontliners. Nanganganib sa bawat araw upang masigurong ligtas at protektado ang bawat pamilyang Pilipino. Ang ating mga overseas Filipino workers. Sa ibayong lupa man o karagatan, ang manggagawang Pilipino ay tinitingala ng ibang bayan. Dahil sa kanilang husay, galing, at pagmamahal sa trabaho. Karangal-rangal ang kanilang mga sakripisyo. Malayo sa kanilang mga mahal sa buhay. Kapalit ng kanilang di matatawarang kontribusyon sa ating ekonomiya. mga atletang Pinoy. Sa larangan ng palakasan, walang tatalo sa puso ng atletang Pinoy. Dugot pawis at sakripisyo mula pagkabata upang makamtan ang medalyang hinahangad. Ang karangalang inyong dala para sa bansa sa bawat labang buhay ang inyong itinataya ay kabayanihang ating kinikilala. Ang manggagawang Pilipino. Kinikilala bilang haligi ng ating pag-unlad bilang isang bansa. Ang kanilang pagpupunyagi at pagsisikap na maitaguyod ang pamilyang Pilipino sa kabila ng anumang balakid ay ating bigyang dangal. Anumang industriya o antas ng panunungkulan, ang bawat manggagawang Pilipino ay bahagi ng pagbabago. Ang ating transport sector, panlupa, pantubig, o panghimpapawid. Ang ating ligtas na paglalakbay ay hatid ng ating transport sector. Mula sa mga tsuper, piloto, at flight attendants, o mga seafarers, at kapitan ng barko. Ang kanilang husay at galing ay katuwang natin sa paglalakbay tungo sa maunlad na bukas. Isang pagpupugay sa ating mga magsasaka at mangingisda. Kinikilala natin ang huwarang kontribusyon ng ating mga bayani sa pagpapaunlad ng sektor ng agrikultura. Ang ating likas na yamang lupa at karagatan. Kasama ang mga makabagong teknolohiya. Isang masaganang kinabukasan para sa agrikultura at matibay na seguridad sa pagkain ang naghihintay sa atin. Ang ating Street Management Services Sector. Malinis, ligtas, at maayos na mga kalye at lansangan. Hatid ng ating mga kababayan sa serbisyo. Sinisigurong malinis ang ating kapaligiran. maginhawa ang daloy ng trapiko. At ligtas ang ating publiko sa daan. Saludo po sa inyo. Ang ating construction industry. To read the joint resolution from the Senate and House of Representatives, Senate President Vicente Tito Soto III.
As the Senate President and co-chair of the joint public session of Congress that canvassed the votes for presidential and vice presidential candidates in the national elections held on the 9th of May, 2022, it is my distinct honor and privilege to join you in this historic occasion and read the dispositive portion of the resolution of both houses, which proclaimed the duly elected President and Vice President of the Republic of the Philippines. The dispositive portion of the said resolution reads as follows. Resolved further to declare that candidate Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Romualdez Marcos Jr. and candidate Sara Zimmerman Duterte received the highest number of votes cast for President and Vice President respectively in the national elections held on the 9th of May, 2022, and by virtue thereof to proclaim Ferdinand Bongbong Romualdez Marcos Jr. as the duly elected President of the Republic of the Philippines, and Sara Zimmerman Duterte as the duly elected Vice President of the Republic of the Philippines.
To administer the oath of office to President-elect Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr., Chief Justice Alexander G. Gasmundo. May we request on stage Attorney Liza Araneta Marcos, Ferdinand Alexander Sandro Marcos, Joseph Simon Marcos, and William Vincent Marcos to witness the oath-taking.
Mangyaring taas ang kanang kamay at wikain ang mga sumusunod. Ako, si Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr.
Si Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr.
ay mataimtim na nanunumpa. Natutuparin ko ng buong katapatan at sigasig.
Natutuparin ko ng buong katapatan at sigasig
ang aking mga tungkulin bilang Pangulo ng Pilipinas. Pangangalagaan at ipagtatanggol ang kanyang konstitusyon. Ipatutupad ang mga batas nito. Magiging makatarungan sa bawat tao. At itatalaga ang aking sarili. Sa paglilingkod sa bansa. Kasihanawa ako ng Diyos. Congratulations, Mr. President.
Maraming salamat.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the President of the Republic of the Philippines, President Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr.
His Excellency David Hurley, Governor General of Australia, and First Lady Linda Hurley, Their Excellencies, Special Envoys, and Heads of Delegations, His Excellency, Most Reverend Charles John Brown, and the esteemed members of the Diplomatic Corps, Vice President Sara Duterte, President Fidel Ramos, President Joseph Ejercito Estrada, President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, Senate President Vicente Soto III, and the honorable members of the Philippine Senate, House Speaker Lord Alan J. Velasco, and the honorable members of the House of Representatives, Chief Justice Alexander Gesmundo, and the honorable justices of the Supreme Court, of course, First Lady Lisa Araneta, and my children, Alexander, Sandro, Simon, and Vincent. I cannot proceed without a special greeting, of course, to the former First Lady Imelda Romualdez Marcos. Other distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, my friends, ang aking minamahal na mga kababayan, magandang tanghali po sa inyong lahat. This is a historic moment for us all. I feel it deep within me. You, the people, have spoken, and it is resounding. When my call for unity started to resonate with you, it did so because it echoed your yearnings, mirrored your sentiments, and expressed your hopes for family, for country, and for a better future. That is why it reverberated and amplified as it did, to deliver the biggest electoral mandate in the history of Philippine democracy. By your vote, you rejected the politics of division. I offended none of my rivals in this campaign. I listened instead to what they were saying, and I saw little incompatibility with my own ideas about jobs, fair wages, personal safety, and national strength, and ending want in a land of plenty. I believe that if we but focus on the work at hand and the work that will come to hand, we will go very far under my watch. You believe that too. At pinakinggan ko ang tinig ninyo na ang sinisigaw ay pagkakaisa, pagkakaisa, pagkakaisa. We will go farther together than against each other, pushing forward, not pulling each other back, out of fear, out of a misplaced sense of weakness. But we are the furthest from weak. The Filipino diaspora flourishes even in the most inhospitable climes, where they are valued for their quality. The changes we seek will benefit all and will shortchange no one. I was not the instrument of change. You were that. You made it happen. I am now. You picked me to be your servant, to enable changes to benefit all. I fully understand the gravity of the responsibility that you've put on my shoulders. I do not take it lightly, but I am ready for the task. I will need your help. I want to rely on it. But rest assured, I do not predicate success on the wide cooperation that's needed. I will get it done. I once knew a man who saw what little had been achieved since independence in a land of people with the greatest potential for achievement, and yet they were poor. But he got it done, sometimes with the needed support, sometimes without. So will it be with his son. You will get no excuses from me. I am here not to talk about the past. I am here to tell you about our future. A future of sufficiency, even plenty, of readily available ways and means to get done what needs doing, by you, by me. We do not look back, but ahead, up the road that we must take to a place better than the one we lost in the pandemic. Gains made and lost, opportunities missed, well-laid plans superseded by the pandemic. Indeed, ours was the fastest growing economy in ASEAN by ways now outdated. We shall be again by a radical change in the way the world must now work to recover what we have lost in that fire and move on from there. We face prospects of the spread of the war abroad, of which we are totally blameless. We seek friendship with all. But countries like ours will bear the brunt of it. And if the great powers draw the wrong lessons from the ongoing tragedy in Ukraine, the same dark prospect of conflict will spread to our part of the world. Yet, there is more out there. Like going forward by new ways of doing that the pandemic forces to adopt. A stronger resilience, quicker adaptability. They are our best prevention. They are our best protection. Quiet reflection in a rough and tumble campaign of a breadth and intensity never experienced revealed some of them, such as the willingness to listen despite the noise, the hesitation to quarrel over differences, and to never, ever give up hope of reconciliation. These gave me the peace to ponder deeper. There are hints of a road not taken that could get us out of here quicker, to something better, something less fragile. There is also what you, the people, did to cope. But this time empowered by new techniques and more resources. You got by, getting some of what you needed with a massive government help. And for this, I thank my predecessor for the courage of his hard decisions. But there is a way to put more means and choices in your hands. I trust the Filipino. Imagine how much more you'd achieve if government backstops instead of dictating your decisions. Always there to pick you up when you fall, giving what you need to get past a problem. Imagine if it invested in your self-empowerment to bring it closer to taking on whatever challenges come. Imagine a country that, in almost every sense, is you. Now imagine what you and government can achieve together. We did it in the pandemic. We will do it again. But again, I will not predicate my promise to you on your cooperation. You have your own lives to live, your work to do, and there too I will help. Government will get as much done alone without requiring more from you. That is what government and public officials are for. No excuses, just deliver. It was like that once upon a time. I did not talk much in this campaign. I did not bother to think of rebutting my rivals. Instead, I searched for promising approaches better than the usual solutions. I listened to you. I did not lecture you who has the biggest stake in our success. And the forthcoming State of the Nation will tell you exactly how we shall get this done. In this fresh chapter of our history, I extend my hand to all Filipinos. Come, let us put our shoulders to the wheel and give that wheel a faster turn to repair and to rebuild and to address challenges in new ways, to provide what all Filipinos need, to be all that we can. We are here to repair a house divided, to make it whole, and to stand strong again in the bayanihan way, expressive of our nature as Filipinos. We shall seek, not scorn, dialogue. Listen respectfully to contrary views. Be open to suggestions coming from hard thinking and unsparing judgment. But always from us, Filipinos. We can trust no one else when it comes to what is best for us. Past history has often proven that. Solutions from outside divided us. None deepened our understanding. They were always at our expense. Never forget, we are Filipinos. One nation, one republic, indivisible. We resisted and never failed to defeat foreign attempts to break up our country in my father's watch. His strongest critics have conceded that. So let us all be part of the solution that we choose. In that lies the power to get it done. Always be open to differing views, but ever united in our chosen goal. Never hesitating to change it, should it prove wanting. That is how agile, resilient republics are made. Our future we decide today. Yesterday cannot make that decision anymore, nor can tomorrow delay it. The sooner we start, the surer and quicker the prospect of achieving our future. These are troubling times. What's happening to others can happen to us, but it will not. We see what's happening. We are witness to how it is being stopped, and we have seen the glory that crowns struggle against all odds. Giving up is not an option. We've been through times of bitter division, but united We came through to this when it shall begin again, but better. The campaigns I've run have taken me here where I stand today. I listened to you, and this is what I have heard. We all want peace in our land. You and your children want a good chance at a better life in a safer, more prosperous country. All that is within reach of a hard-working, warm, and giving race. Your dreams are mine. Pangarap nyo ay pangarap ko. How can we make them come true? How can we do it together? But I will take it as far as anyone with the same faith and commitment can, as if it depended entirely on himself. Sa pangarap na maging mapayapa ang ating bansa, ang pangarap nyo ay pangarap ko. Sa pangarap na maging maunlad ang ating bansa, ang pangarap nyo ay pangarap ko. At sa pangarap na maging mas masinang ang kinabukasan natin at ng ating mga anak, ang pangarap nyo ay pangarap ko. We are presently drawing up a comprehensive, all-inclusive plan for economic transformation. We will build back better by doing things in the light of the experiences that we have had, both good and bad. It doesn't matter. No looking back in anger or nostalgia. In the road ahead, the immediate months will be rough, but I will walk that road with you. The pandemic ravaged bigger economies than ours. The virus is not the only thing to blame. What had been well built was torn down. We will build it back better. The role of agriculture cries for the urgent attention that its neglect and misdirection now demands. Food self-sufficiency has been the key promise of every administration. None but one delivered. There were inherent defects in the old ways and in recent ways too. The trade policy of competitive advantage made the case that when it comes to food sufficiency, a country should not produce but import what other countries make more of and sell cheapest. Then came Ukraine. The most vulnerable when it comes to food are the countries furthest away from the conflict, those bearing no blame for provoking it. Yet they face the biggest risk of starvation. If financial aid is poured into them, though it never is, there is nothing to buy. Food is not just a trade commodity. Without it, people weaken and die. Societies come apart. It is more than a livelihood. It is an existential imperative and a moral one. An agriculture damaged and diminished by unfair competition will have a harder time or will have no prospects at all of recovering. Food sufficiency must get the preferential treatment the richest free trade countries always gave their agricultural sectors. Their policy boils down to don't do as we do. Do what we tell you to. I am giving that policy the most serious thought if it doesn't change or make more allowances for emergencies with long-term effects. There is a parallel problem in our energy supply. Sufficient fossil fuel-free technology for whole economies has yet to be invented. And it is not seriously tried by rich countries. Again, consider the response of the richest countries to the war in Ukraine. But surely, a free world awash with oil can assure supplies. Or we will find a way. We are not far from oil and gas reserves that have already been developed. What we teach in our schools, the materials used must be rethought. I am not talking about history. I am talking about the basics, the sciences, sharpening theoretical aptitude and imparting vocational skills, such as in the German example. alongside the national language with equal emphasis and facility in a global language, which we had and lost. Let us give OFWs all the advantages we can for them to survive and to thrive. Our teachers from elementary up are heroes fighting ignorance with poor paper weapons. We are condemning the future of our race to menial occupations abroad. Then they are exploited by traffickers. Once we had an education system that prepared coming generations for more and better jobs. There is hope for a comeback. Vice President and soon-to-be Secretary of Education, Sara Duterte Carpio, will fit that mission to a T. We won't be caught unprepared, under-equipped, and understaffed to fight the next pandemic. To start with, we never got over the pandemic of poor, if any, free public health. The last major upgrade of a public health system, exemplified by the resources poured into PGH, predates the current shambles by 3 generations. Our nurses are the best in the world. They acquitted themselves with the highest distinction abroad, having suffered even the highest casualties. With the same exemplary dedication at home, they just got by. They are out there because we cannot pay them for the same risk and workload that we have back here. There will be changes starting tomorrow. I am confident because I have an OPLE in my cabinet. There were shortcomings in the COVID response. We will fix them out in the open. No more secrets in public health. Remember, I speak from experience. I was among the first to get COVID. It was not a walk in the park. My father built more and better roads, produced more rice than all administrations before his. President Rodrigo Roa Duterte built more and better than all the administrations succeeding my father's. Much has been built, and so well, that the economic dogma of dispersing industry to develop the least likely places has been upturned. Development was brought to them. Investors are now setting up industries along the promising routes built. And yet, the potential of this country is not exhausted. Following these giant steps, we will continue to build. I will complete on schedule the projects that have been started. I'm not interested in taking credit. I want to build on success that's already happening. We will be presenting the public with a comprehensive infrastructure plan. 6 years could be just about enough time. No part of our country will be neglected. Progress will be made wherever there are Filipinos, so no investment is wasted. The recovery of Philippine tourism with its emphasis on accessing nature's beauty, I am sure will exceed expectations. And bigger is not always better, but there's something to be said for economies of scale. And yet the country invites investments in fast-rising industries with quick returns and inflicts irreparable damage for future generations. We have yet to see large-scale practical solutions to pollution, though some are beginning to emerge. But there are tried and proven new ways of mitigation. Blades have been turning over the sand dunes of Ilocos Norte, harnessing a power all around, but unseen, long before this day. I built them. The rich world talks a great deal, but does a lot less about it than those with much less, but who suffer more death and destruction from climate change and lack of adaptation. We will look to our partners and friends to help the Philippines, who, despite having a very small carbon footprint, is at the highest risk. First, spare victims than help them recover, and move on to lessen the harmful impact of climate change. We too have our part to play. We are the third biggest plastics polluter in the world, but we won't shirk from that responsibility. We will clean up. You will not be disappointed, so do not be afraid. With every difficult decision that I must make, I will keep foremost in my heart and in my mind the debt of gratitude I owe you for the honor and responsibility that you have conferred on me. Whatever is in a person to make changes for the better of others, I lay before you now in my commitment. I will try to spare you. You have your other responsibilities to carry. But I will not spare myself from shedding the last bead of sweat or giving the last ounce of courage and sacrifice. And if you ask me why I am so confident of the future, I will answer you simply that I have 110 million reasons to start with. Such is my faith in the Filipino. Believe, have hope. The sun also rises like it did today and as it will tomorrow. And as surely as that, we will achieve the country all Filipinos deserve. God bless the Philippines. God bless our work. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat. Mabuhay ang Pilipinas. Magandang tanghali po.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the President of the Republic of the Philippines, President Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr.
We will now have a photo opportunity with President Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr. May we invite the first family on stage. First Lady Liza Araneta Marcos, Ferdinand Alexander Sandro Marcos, Joseph Simon Marcos, and William Vincent Marcos.
May we now request
Marcos Jr. is now the 17th President of the Philippines.
the first family.
He has just delivered his inaugural address, and as expected, he did call for unity, saying that he rejects the politics of division. Marcos said the word pagkakaisa thrice, and he says if we go farther, if we work together. He also said that he needs the people's help, but that he, I quote, will get it done.
May we now request on stage Chief Justice Alexander G. Gasmundo and Senate President Vicente
Marcos also
to join the first family.
Talking about a fresh chapter, saying that he extends his hand to all Filipinos and that he says he will seek and not scorn dialogue. He said, "Your dreams are mine, ang pangarap nyo ay pangarap ko." He says that times ahead will be rough, but he says, quote, "I will walk that road with you." Marcos talking about an economic transformation package that will be presented in the next few days. He talked about how he would like to get down to work on agriculture, energy, education, health, climate change. He also said that he will complete projects that have already been started and will be presenting a comprehensive infrastructure plan. He said, and we quote, "We will not be disappointed, so do not be afraid," he said. Marcos ended his speech saying why he is confident, and he said, we quote, "I have 110 million reasons to start with, and such is my faith in the Filipino." He did not mention the number 31 million, the figure 31 million. Marcos joined on stage by the rest of his extended family, his mother, former First Lady Imelda Romualdez Marcos, and his sisters, Senator Amy Marcos and Irene Marcos Araneta, but wait, I don't see Irene there on stage. Amy Marcos is there, his youngest sister. Now, before the inaugural address, the oath taking happened, he did say his oath, recite his oath in the vernacular. It was administered by the Chief Justice Alexander Gesmundo. Before that, to pave the way for that, Senate President Tito Soto read the proclamation of the joint session of Congress that proclaimed Marcos and Sara Duterte as the President-elect and Vice President-elect on May 25 at the Batasan Pambansa. The program here is not yet over. There's some musical performances lined up.
Ang bayan ko'y
President Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr. begins his 6-year term as president, the 17th president of the Republic of the Philippines. We'll be back after a quick break. You're watching a CNN Philippines special coverage, The Oath, the Presidential Inauguration. Please stay tuned. Hello, everyone, and good afternoon, and welcome back to this CNN Philippines special coverage of the oath, the presidential inauguration. I'm Rico Hizon. Earlier, we saw the 17th President of the Republic, Bongbong Marcos, take his oath at the National Museum. Let's now take a look at more live pictures from the National Museum grounds, where President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. just took his oath as the 17th Chief Executive of this country. Just to basically recap what he talked about, in his 25-minute speech, he talked about a whole range of issues, but at the center of it was unity, pagkakaisa. And he said that we will go a very long way under his watch. And the changes that he will implement over the next 6 years of his presidency will benefit all. He will not shortchange the Filipino people. He will not shortchange anyone. And he fully understands the gravity of the responsibility of the Philippine presidency. He says there are no excuses. He will be above board. He will be transparent in all his actions. And when he spoke of unity, he said that we are not here to talk about the past, but look ahead to the future. Create his own history as President of the Republic. And he will never give up hope on reconciliation, on the dividing forces that took place during the electoral campaign. And he also stressed that he extends his help to all Filipinos, whether the 31 million who voted for him and the remainder of the electoral population who did not vote for him. Some of the salient features that he also mentioned during his speech was to come up with a comprehensive plan for economic transformation. And I'm sure the Filipino people would like to find out more details about this comprehensive economic transformation plan. Now that he has come up with the members of his economic team, his finance secretary will be Benjamin Jokno. You have his trade secretary, Pascual, R.C. Balisacan, who will be the NEDA Secretary General. So these will be, they will be forming a key part in coming up with this economic transformation plan, because a lot of problems have arisen over the past couple of years due to the pandemic. We have a mountain, a humongous debt of close to 13 trillion pesos accumulated during the term of President Duterte. We have a lot of Filipinos who still do not have jobs, and a whole list of other problems that have to be addressed by the economic team of President Marcos. He also talked about food self-sufficiency, agriculture. He'll be the new agriculture secretary. We continue to import a lot of the foods on our plate, from fish to rice to sugar to vegetables and other key important staples of our kababayans. He also talked about improving education, health, the teachers, and of course, giving a better life and benefits for our overseas Filipino workers. And what you can see right now were events that took place earlier when he took his oath as the 17th President of the country, signed the key documents. And now we will be crossing over to our chief correspondent and anchor, Hontiveros, who is now at the National Museum, to give us the latest developments there. Pio, go ahead.
President Bongbong Marcos has just been sworn in as the 17th president, the 17th chief executive, the 17th commander-in-chief. His oath-taking, he swore on his oath in the vernacular. It was administered by the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, Alexander Gesmundo. Marcos was accompanied by his wife, now First Lady Liza Araneta Marcos, and their children, Simon, Vincent, and Sandro. Marcos right now is going to be attending a Vandano in his honor, together with many of his guests here at the National Museum, including three former presidents, former President Joseph Erap Estrada, former President Fidel Valdez Ramos, and former President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. After that Vandano, what's going to happen is the president, and let's get used to it, he is president now, no longer just president-elect. He's going to be receiving, or the Armed Forces contingent, the Cadet Corps Armed Forces of the Philippines, I'm told, will be rendering departure honors for President Marcos before he leaves to return to Malacanang. And when he arrives at Malacanang, that is when the ceremonial procession of the palace will take place, the ascending of the staircase. Earlier, we saw him and now let's get used to that, former President Duterte descending that same staircase. Bongbong Marcos will ascend that staircase as the 17th president later on in the day. And there in that palace, he's going to be conducting the oath-taking of his cabinet members, and he is supposed to have that first cabinet meeting. That is what is happening here at the National Museum. This has been the inaugural ceremonies of the 17th president of the Philippines, Ferdinand Marcos Jr., or Bongbong Marcos. Rico?
Thank you so much, Pia Hontiveros, joining us from the National Museum grounds. Thank you so much for joining us. And would now like to speak to political sociologist Frederick Ray, who joins us now at this hour for the CNN Philippines special presentation on the oath, the inauguration of President Bongbong Marcos. Thank you so much for joining us, Professor. First of all, what are your key outtakes from this 25-minute speech of President Marcos Jr.?
Thank you so much, Sir Rico, for the invitation. Before I proceed with the critique or analysis of the inaugural speech of our president, allow me to extend first our warm greetings and congratulations on behalf of our mayor, Mayor Ikinia from Malinaw Aklan, and our vice mayor, Attorney Ariel Igoy, and our council. We are wishing our president all the best. As he solicited earlier, he was asking for support. Let me begin my analysis with a happy note. I am very much excited to elaborate on the positive tone of the presentation or the speech of the president when with regard to his ability to listen, his openness to new ideas that will really serve as a driving force for him to arrive at a decision that is sound and prudent. Second is his natural disposition to somewhat let go of what he mentioned, a divided house, and enter a new chapter of unity and prosperity, a new hopeful Philippines.
But Professor Ray, I think what really the people really want to find out is especially the most important components on how to improve the life of every Filipino. He mentioned about a comprehensive economic transformation and food self-sufficiency. And I'm sure our kababayans want to really know specific tasks and strategies that he and his economic team will undertake to improve the lives of our Filipinos' lives.
Yes, we are a little bit disappointed in this aspect, Rico, because if we are familiar with the propaganda technique, there were at least 3 techniques that were employed in the speech. First, complex ideas were simplified or oversimplified. We call it simplification. There were mentioning of economic transformation, revival of our economy, solutions on our agricultural or food insecurity issues. But it was oversimplified without really giving us a detailed approach on how to provide solutions to these problems. Second, he took advantage of catchy slogans, unity and about moving forward. Also, we can put into the mix what we call the glittering generalities. Thoughts about trust, unity, strong-willed people, agile and resilient nation, something like that.
Right.
In the end, there were no specific techniques or approaches that were mentioned on how to address difficult problems.
Professor, I also took note of one particular phrase that he mentioned during his speech, and he said, "We are not here to talk about the past, but look ahead to the future." What is your interpretation of that?
This is really an inspiring and a promising proposition from our president, but we know very well that this will be, I hate to say it, but this will be a polarizing administration. A polarizing administration in the sense that there is what I call the natural enemy of the Marcoses. This may be viewed as a love affair, a Filipino love affair with the Marcoses. But on the other side of it, there is also a natural enemy when we talk about the dark history of the Philippines, as mentioned in our textbooks, that even the cat feared to tread. So this really is a difficult administration. I assume.
So, Professor, what do you think? What will be the political culture under a Marcos presidency? Because, number one, he will already have control of the Senate and the lower house. He has control of many of the LGUs. A lot of his allies are governors, mayors, and vice mayors. So what do you think will be the political culture over the next 6 months? 6 years, sorry.
This really is a culture that will be challenged in terms of how truth is being handled. Truth in the sense that many truths were sidelined or marginalized in order to achieve certain political objectives. So our political culture in the next 6 years will be very much dependent on how social institutions preserve its independence and its integrity. Like, for example, the church, the school, based on the media, for example, for decades we had been preserving certain values, and here now comes an administration that is a little bit different, or I suppose in opposition of what once believed to be true and certain.
Professor, we would like to thank you for your insights and for joining us for this CNN Philippines special presentation, political sociologist Frederick Rey. Keep it right here on CNN Philippines for our continuing coverage of the first day of President Bongbong Marcos in office. I'm Rico Hizon. Thanks for joining us. Good afternoon.
si Ruth Cabal.